Hello and welcome back to another episode of the People Pleasers Anonymous podcast. I'm Lisa Blackham, your host and owner and founder of Lisa Blackham Coaching. And I'm here today to talk to you about awareness and how interesting it is that as adults we can go through extended periods of our life without really even being aware. Completely reactionary, living life as it happens without any real forethought. And the reason I'm sharing this with you today is because I was in a book club meeting just recently with a few girlfriends. Now we've got this incredible little book club where instead of reading fiction books, we have decided to arm ourselves with all of the personal development books that we can find. We just love personal growth. And so what better way to learn more about how our human brains and bodies and everything works than reading all about it in personal development books. So we started this little book club and we caught up just recently. And one of the things that was really evident for me during the discussion about the books that we'd been reading recently was the awareness that one lady in particular had in terms of really how she was navigating life. Now she's about 20 years younger than me. And it's quite a beautiful mix of ladies, actually. We're all different ages and we're all at different stages in our life. And this particular lady is a young mum. She's got a little girl who's only 18 months old, I think. And I'm a empty nester. And my two children have grown and flown the coop. So there's kind of 20 years between us, which is really, really interesting. But what struck me as so incredibly powerful was just how aware she was of the decisions she was making as a parent, the way she wanted to parent her child, the decisions they were making as a couple with regard to how they would develop their relationship. And oh my God, just such maturity for such a young woman. And I was kind of like reflecting on what it was like for me as a young mum. And so my kids are 22 and 20, almost 24 years old. So, it's almost 25 years since I became a mum to begin with. But back when I was a mum, 24 and a half years ago, I literally was unaware of the thoughts I was thinking and the behaviour or why I was behaving the way I was. I was very much driven by reactions. I was dictated by the world around me, the people in it, the situations I found myself in, and life was just spinning pretty much out of control by the time my kids were about 10 years old, but spinning and on this kind of cycle of go, 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 burnout, crash, go, 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 burnout, crash, recover, go, 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 burnout, crash, recover. And that happened for a good 15 years of my first, as a parent, my first 15 years of being a parent. But I was just so in awe of this beautiful young woman and the way she was able to articulate the things that were going on in her life because she was aware. She is very aware of how her life is going, and she is very much in the driver's seat of how her life is going to evolve, basically. She's taking charge. Oh my goodness, I had no control over my life back then, 20 years ago. My husband was driving the bus, my parents were driving the bus, my friends were driving the bus. Everything and everyone else was driving my life bus except me. And because of that, I kind of became really resentful, I guess, because other people were telling me how to raise my children and how to function in life. I also became very doubtful of my own ability, and I started to doubt whether whatever I was doing as a parent was actually the right thing. I guess that's when my personal development journey started, because I was reading parenting books and trying to figure out how to keep my 2 kids alive, for starters, and how to raise them to be well-adjusted, normal human beings. So reading lots of books, getting lots of advice from all sorts of different people who really didn't have a lot to do with my family and us as a couple, but, well-meaning individuals who had lots of really helpful things and ways for me to go about life. But what I really found was, that self-doubt kicked in, that inability to make my own decisions based on what I felt was right. So I was always looking outside of myself for answers and going to other people and other places and other sources to get information. Not trusting in my own intuition, and definitely feeling that whole pressure from external forces to be doing parenting and to be doing relationships and to be doing life in a certain way, in the way that I could see other people doing their lives. And at that point, social media wasn't a big influence, so I was relying on mothers' groups and my social groups within my netball community and the sports that I played, but also in the school environment and the other teachers that I spent a lot of time with who had raised their own children. Obviously, they were a bit older than me and we were just beginning our parenting journey. And I was really confused, really confused by the information that I was receiving from everybody else, and this gut feeling that I had about what I was doing. The two just didn't match. Like, even though I felt within myself that I knew what to do, all of the external places that I was gathering information from were saying something different. And so that's, again, really drove that self-doubt and lack of trust in my own parenting journey. And I guess eventually I ended up having an anxiety breakdown. I became so worried about being a good parent and that I couldn't live up to all of these expectations that even, just because these people were well-meaning and giving me advice, I couldn't live up to that. Like, it wasn't working for me and I didn't know why. So I felt like there was something wrong with me. I felt like I was broken. I didn't know how to be a parent. Reality check. Mama, nobody knows how to be a parent. I now know that, right? We are not born with a rule book and an instruction guide on how to raise children. We basically have to figure it out as we go. But because these well-meaning and beautiful people were giving me so much advice, I honestly thought there was something wrong with me. I was getting it all wrong and I had no idea how to fix it. And so when in our book club, this beautiful young woman was telling me how she was raising her daughter and trusting her gut and trusting her instinct and not listening to all the noise, I was like so thankful that she's breaking that cycle of feeling incapable of being a good parent and trusting herself, trusting her knowing and her deep intuition that she knows, because I truly believe we do now that I have kind of overcome that stage of my life and got through that stage in my life. My kids have gone from home and doing their own thing. But now that we have sort of reached that next level, I can look back and go, oh my God, I did know what I was doing. I do know what I'm doing. I do know what's best for me because I am the only person who knows exactly what I need. So I guess the other little part of this that I wanted to talk about is one of my children is a girl, obviously, and she is a 22-year-old, very level-headed young woman. And through the lessons that I learned of not listening to my intuition and not listening to not trusting myself to know what was right for my kids and myself in those early stages is that I have been able to instill that in her. She is the most well-adjusted young woman that I've ever met, and I'm so proud that she is my daughter, because I can see in her now that she is able to trust her instincts, that she is willing to believe in herself enough to know what is right for her. At 22, oh my God, I was totally living life as a reactionary lunatic as a 22-year-old, completely unaware of the impact that my actions and my thoughts were having on how I felt, on how it was impacting on other people, and the ripple effect of that. But this 22-year-old of mine is very aware of the thoughts that she thinks and the actions that she takes, and the impact and the ripple effect that both of those will have on her now in the moment, but also into the future, which I just love, because the only place that we can be, that I have learned, is right now, and that we are, us as in each individual, is the only person in your life who can determine how you feel, how you're going to act, and what thoughts to think. Only you. It's the only thing you have any control over. And being able to be aware of what you're thinking and how you're feeling in any given moment can really dictate how your day rolls. And yes, look, we can go and ask others for advice and assistance, absolutely, if we are totally bamboozled and just don't know which way to turn. Because let's face it, there is so much information out there in our information overload world right now that it does get super confusing. But when we come back to ourselves, when we come back into this beautiful place of being in our own heart, then that's where the answers lie. The answers truly lie within. And I really saw that in this beautiful young woman in our book club, and I see it in my daughter and even some of her friends who are so much more attuned to what is right for them and what they need to do to fill their cup up and be the best version of themselves. Gosh, I wish I had had that as a young woman. I wish I had have been more aware of, the impact that my thoughts about all sorts of situations. I mean, I played this crazy victim blame game. I blamed everybody and everything for how I was feeling. If I was feeling great, excellent, you were all my best friends. But if I was feeling shitty, it was damn right your fault. You had done something to me to make me feel the way I was feeling. And it's just not true. It's just so not true. And once I sort of realised that, and that came after my anxiety diagnosis and the need for me to want to find out how I could help myself, I really, really began my personal development journey then, and realised that I already had the answers within me, that everything I was looking for out there, outside of myself, was actually inside of me. I needed to turn inwards and start to look for the answers in myself. And once I started doing that, I really started to trust myself more and really started to build my own self-belief, letting go of self-doubt. All of the things that we worry about are just not in my control, most of them. But what I do have control over is how I think and the actions that I take in order to feel the way I want to feel. And I do that now much more intuitively, thank goodness. And I can see these beautiful young women doing that themselves now, which is just wonderful. So I'm so glad I've been able to empower not only my daughter, but a lot of the women in my community, my Good Girl Rebellion, and the women that I work with one-on-one, helping them to see that the answers are not out there. They're not out in on the internet or in a self-help book or even from your best friend or your well-meaning auntie or anyone else, but really the answers that you're looking for are in here, deep in your heart, deep in your soul. Like, in your inner being, you know exactly what you need. So if there's one thing you take away from my little message today, is that you know exactly what you need and what's best for you. And if you are looking outside of yourself for those answers, I encourage you to turn the mirror back around to face you so that you can look inside and see what you already know, what skills you already have, what is important to you, and really drive deep in to find the answers from within, because that's where they are, beautiful. They really are. They're inside of you, and you already know. You already know. Just trust that they're there. Thank you for turning up today and listening to my little rant. I'm so glad you're here and joining me. Again, if this podcast is resonating with you and you are like thinking that this could be really helpful for someone else, I would love it if you would share this podcast with your beautiful friends and beautiful women folk in your network. And again, if you're enjoying what you're hearing, give me a rating. I would love to know. I'd love a 5-star rating if that's up what you believe in, and that way it helps keep my podcast up in the algorithms of Spotify and YouTube and everywhere that it is, so that other people get access to the wisdom that I have to share. And if you would like to come over and join us in the Good Girl Rebellion, it's my free Facebook group. It's where we hang out and support each other as women to help rise up and break these chains of oppression that we feel holding us back from living and thriving as our best selves. Come and play. It's a really beautiful and engaging community. Lots of inspiration and lots of empowerment opportunities for you to connect, grow and learn with the other women in our community. I would love to see you there. But thank you for joining me today. As always, I love having you on board, and I look forward to speaking with you in a new episode in very, very soon. Bye for now.